Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NBA Smash Hit new video program, All Around Newtown. I'm your host today, Matt Peters, and today on All Around Newtown, you're in for a real treat because you're going to be spending the entire episode with me. Woo! So, we're going to be talking about spring lawn and garden tips today and how you can get your lawn and your property ready for the spring and summer season coming up. But before we get into that exciting topic, I do want to go over some NBA member announcements. So first up, our first announcement is the upcoming March breakfast meeting for NBA members. That March breakfast meeting will be on Thursday, March 25th from 7:30 a.m. until 9 a.m. The sponsor of that event will be Weedman Lawn Care of Bucks County, yours truly. The speaker for that event, our featured speaker, will be Robert Cormack, the director of the Bucks County Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Cormack will be speaking about the Bucks County EDC, the Bucks County Economic Development Corporation, and also he'll be speaking about the PA Industry Development Authority, the PIDA, and he'll also be educating us on tax credits. So that will be a very, very valuable meeting for all of you to attend if you're a business owner in the Newtown area or from beyond, anywhere in Bucks County. You want to make sure that you're registered to go to that event. If you're not a member of the NBA, join now so you could attend that event. It's going to be a really good one. It's going to be really informative, and you're going to learn a lot of valuable things that could end up saving you or making you a lot of money. Next, after that, we have the Emerging Leaders Happy Hour on Thursday, April 4th. That will be from 5 until 6:30 p.m. The sponsor of that event will be Weedman Lawn Care of Bucks County, yours truly again. The speaker will be Guru's Indian Cuisine, our next door neighbors actually here on Sycamore Street in Newtown. And we would encourage you to invite some of the younger members of your business to come and check it out. And if you'd like to attend as well, you're welcome to attend. The next business card exchange for the NBA will be on April 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. And the sponsors of that event will be Univest Bank and Incorporated Designs. Our April episode of All Around Newtown, which will air on April 15th, that will feature the Temperance House, which was recently named the NBA's Business of the Year for 2020. So we're going to be taking a look at the Temperance House. We're going to look at the building itself, the history behind it, and all of the things that made the Temperance House the NBA's Business of the Year for 2020. So you want to make sure you save all those dates. And another couple dates you have to save coming up. April 3rd is the NBA's Easter Bunny Cruise. That's going to start at 10 a.m. The route map is going to be posted on the NBA's website, newtownba.org. That's going to be a fun take on the normal Easter bunny egg hunt that they do, but they're actually going to put the bunny in a car that's sponsored by the payroll factory, and they're going to drive it around some of the larger neighborhoods in Newtown. So to check and see if your neighborhood is included on that route list, go to newtownba.org to find out. Also on June 20th, we're going to have the NBA's Father's Day Car Cruise. That's going to start at 2 p.m. That's also going to travel through Newtown. Stay tuned for more info on that event. I also want you to check out the NBA's Business School podcasts on the NBA's website. They're also on Anchor, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to be a future presenter on the NBA's Business School podcasts, please reach out and contact Rodney Warner if you're interested. Also, if you'd like to opt into text message reminders from the NBA, just text the phrase NBA to the following number, 844-574-6291. You can find the number on the website, and once you text NBA, you can opt in and get text reminders from the NBA. And that's all the NBA member announcements that I have for now. So let's go ahead and get on into the presentation. So I'm going to actually transfer it over to me I'm going to transfer it over to myself, but I'm actually transferring it over to a video that we recorded recently here in our office, since it was actually recorded when we still had snow on the ground. Unfortunately, we were unable to do an on-location video for this month's All Around Newtown, thanks to the snowstorm after snowstorm that we had, but we're still going to go over a lot of great information. You're going to love it. Welcome back. So today, like I said just 2 seconds ago when I was in front of the Zoom screen, we're going to be talking about spring lawn and garden tips today. Very glad that you're joining us here. Thank you to the NBA for allowing us to bring this program to you. Thank you to all those who are watching. If you are watching this, make sure you hit the like button. If you're watching it on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching it on Facebook, make sure you hit the like button, share it on your page, share it to a Facebook group, share it to your friends. Share it to your family. Share it to anyone you know who loves their lawn. If you know someone who's that lawn guy or lawn gal, share it to them. And also, if you have a question at any point in this broadcast, please leave it in the comment section below. If you're watching it on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever, if you put a comment in the section below, I will go back and I will answer that question for you in the comment section. And if you need me to follow up with a message, just indicate that and I'll answer any questions you have on your lawn. But today we're going to be talking about spring lawn and garden tips. So how can you, a property owner or a homeowner, make your lawn and the exterior of your property ready for the spring and summer season? So I'm going to go over a few common sense tips. We're going to go into some specific stuff, some general stuff. It's going to be a nice, well-rounded talk this year. We did one last year in April when this was Coaches on Couches with Coffee with the NBA, and that was a live video. So this one, we're going to cover some different information. So that way it's not redundant. It's going to be something where we're going over the basics about lawn care, and it's just going to be a really great talk. So the first and most important, I would say, thing that you need to be aware of and ready for spring lawn and garden tips is to have a plan. You need to have a plan of action. You need to know what you're doing and what you plan on doing. So if you haven't gotten that plan together yet, what are you waiting for? Get out there and get that plan together. Consult with a lawn care expert or a landscape expert to figure out what do you need to do for your lawn this year and get that plan into action. Start to execute that plan. That plan should definitely consist of a few things, which I'll go over now. Season-long fertilization using a granular fertilizer, preferably a slow-release granular fertilizer, as those are the best. And then also timely weed control applications of both a pre-emergent and also a post-emergent weed control. And then in addition to that, you'll also want to, as you get farther on into the season, consider maybe doing a grub control, maybe a insect control if you've got insect issues on the property, but definitely consult an expert with that, because if you've never had insect issues on your lawn, you might not need an insect control. If you've never had grub issues on your lawn, you might not need a grub control. You need to consult with an expert on that. And we're always happy to help and answer any questions for you, whether you're a customer or not. I'm always happy to help out the community or members in it with any information I can. So if you have any questions, like I said, leave them in the comment section below the video. Back to the fertilizer. When you put that fertilizer down, make sure you're putting it down early. You're talking March, maybe early April at the latest when you get that first fertilizer down. That first fertilizer application is going to wake the lawn up out of its winter dormant period, so to speak. So the fertilizer that you put down, it's lawn food. Your grass it's a growing living organism. It needs food. It needs to be fed. It needs specific nutrients, just like a human body needs specific nutrients to survive and to thrive and to be most healthy. Your lawn needs the same thing. So your fertilizer that you put down, like we just said a minute ago, needs to be a slow release granular fertilizer. So that fertilizer that you put down, you need to make sure you put it down at the recommended rate. So you're putting the right amount of nitrogen into the soil. And then once you get that down, once it starts to rain, or if you decide to water it in, then you'll notice the fertilizer gets watered into the soil, and then the grass will uptake the nutrients out of the soil. Then you'll notice a pretty noticeable change in the greenness of your lawn. It'll look a lot more green, look a lot more healthy, and it will be growing a lot more healthfully than it would without that fertilizer application. Not to mention with a summer like we just had, or a winter like we just had, with all the snow and snow and snow and snow and snow and snow, and that was just February, and all the cold temperatures and ice storms we had, that puts a lot of stress on the lawn, especially with all that melting and going right into the soil. It can leave your lawn open for issues such like snow mold, pink snow mold, and gray snow mold are a couple of the common lawn funguses that can affect the lawn. So by putting down a regularly applied fertilizer in the spring, right when the growing season starts, you're going to decrease the likeliness of getting those diseases. Because just like with the human body, if you're deficient in certain nutrients, then problems can start to pop up. Same thing happens with your lawn. If you're deficient in certain nutrients, specific problems can start to arise in your lawn. And there's specific symptoms that you can easily tell if a lawn is deficient in nitrogen, for example, or if it's deficient in, we'll say, potassium or phosphorus, or if it's deficient in something like calcium and magnesium, if the pH is low. So, you want to make sure you get that fertilizer application down. If you haven't put down limestone in a few years, or really in the last year or two, you want to make sure you put down a limestone application in the spring as well. And then, especially if you haven't put one down in a while, you want to double up and do it again in the fall. But what that limestone will do for your lawn is limestone will be usually calcium and magnesium, or sometimes it could be just calcium, or it could be, either one, whether it's a calcitic or a dolomitic limestone. Read the label on the bag. When in doubt, call an expert. If you want to take all the guesswork out of it, call an expert to have them take care of it for you. They're going to use the correct product on your lawn that your lawn needs. So the limestone is another thing that you want to make sure you're putting down on the lawn to help to correct the soil pH. And the soil pH is, is it acidic, is it basic, or is it neutral? That's how the pH works. If anyone remembers the lessons from chemistry class or from science class back in the day, anything under a 7 is acidic. Anything above a 7 is basic. And that 7 range is neutral. You want your soil to be as close as possible to that neutral 7 range. If you have soil that's very, very acidic, you could see things like, maybe I usually refer to it as anemic grass growth, or you could see other issues pop up where you could put a fertilizer down and the grass doesn't uptake all the nutrients properly. You could see moss in certain areas. You could see certain types of weeds that grow well in acidic soils. Believe it or not, there are weeds that will grow through every single poor soil condition you could possibly have. There are weeds that are going to grow through gravel and through concrete and through cracks in the pavement. Of course, they're going to grow in a lawn as well. And everything that I'm suggesting here, as far as applications to a lawn, or that any other lawn professional would suggest as far as applications go to a lawn, they're all part of a greater a greater puzzle, if you want to say. It's something referred to as IPM, integrated pest management. What that means is, if you're using an IPM based approach, you're putting down specific applications at a specific rate at a specific time to create a healthy, thick, dense turf. And by doing that, you're going to decrease the chances of adverse things happening to your lawn. You're going to decrease the chances of weeds occurring. You're going to decrease the chances of disease occurring on your lawn. You're also going to decrease the chance of serious insect damage on your lawn from occurring as well. So just like if you have a healthy immune system with your own body, you're less likely to get sick. And if you do get sick, you're more likely to get better quicker. Same thing with a healthy, well-maintained lawn. So we went over fertilizer. You want to start off the season with a spring fertilizer. We went over limestone. You want to try and get limestone down into the soil as well. Next thing you're going to want to do is a weed control. And your weed control is going to need to consist of 2 different types of herbicides. One of them being, type number 1, being a pre-emergent herbicide. A pre-emergent herbicide is going to stop specific weeds and weed grasses from growing in your lawn, like crabgrass, for example. Crabgrass is one of the most common ones. Crabgrass, if you're not familiar with it, is an annual undesirable weed grass that can grow in your lawn, and it can really wreak havoc on it. So how do you control crabgrass? The easiest way to control it is to prevent it from even occurring on your lawn. So with a timely application of a pre-emergent crabgrass herbicide, you can put down something on your lawn that will effectively act like a barrier. Sometimes if I need to explain it to a customer to help them kind of conceptualize it and make sense of it, I'll explain it like a laminated sheet of paper. That laminate on the paper will prevent that paper from getting wet. It will prevent it from getting damaged. Kind of the same way, not exactly, but it's all about how you paint the picture. It's kind of the same way of how a pre-emergent crabgrass control will work. That pre-emergent crabgrass control, once you put it down and it gets watered into your soil, it will create an invisible barrier in the soil that will stop weeds and weed grasses from germinating and growing. So, if you get your crabgrass pre-emergent down at the right time, at the right amount, and if you cut your grass at the right height throughout the season, you could significantly reduce the amount of crabgrass you're going to have in your lawn by over 90% if you do it right. And that's a huge reduction in crabgrass. If not, then you could have crabgrass all over your lawn. The crabgrass could really take over if you don't put that down. And crabgrass is a pain to get rid of. If you don't catch it with the pre-emergent, you're gonna have to use some pretty heavy-duty herbicides to get it out of your lawn over the summertime. So that, prevention always, an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure, as the saying goes. That's so true for crabgrass. The other type of herbicide, type number 2, remember I mentioned if you're just watching a second ago, there's going to be 2 types of herbicides you need to put down. So type number 2 is going to be a post-emergent herbicide. Now, the pre-emergent herbicide I just explained, that's going to stop weeds before they come up. So a post-emergent herbicide must mean it's going to stop the weeds from growing that are in the lawn. Now, a post-emergent herbicide is going to be the most common herbicide. There's post-emergent herbicides for broadleaf weeds like dandelions and clover. There's also post-emergent herbicides for things like crabgrass and nutsedge and other weed grasses and sedges. But overall, there's hundreds of different types of weeds and weed grasses that can grow in your lawn. And no matter what, you're going to have weeds coming back every year. It's like the old Ben Franklin quote, only 2 sure things in life are death and taxes. I would say add a third one to that, add weeds. Weeds are always going to grow in any lawn, no matter how good or how bad it is. It's just a matter of how many. So if you have a really good lawn, if you have a really thick, dense turf, if you put down fertilizer and weed control at the right time, if you cut it properly, you're going to have significantly less weeds than if you're missing one of those pieces to that puzzle. So everything that I'm recommending is all in the purpose of it is to create a thick, healthy, dense turf that's going to reduce those weeds from even making a foothold in your lawn and spreading. So that weed control application that you put down in the spring, that's going to prevent the weeds, the crabgrass, like I'd mentioned with the pre-emergent, and it's also going to control the weeds that are in your lawn at that time with the post-emergent. So you put that down, you see the weeds dying and curling and shriveling up, and what you don't see is the crabgrass pre-emergent barrier getting set in your soil. And that's the main 3 things you need to do as far as spring applications for your lawn. Now I'm going to go into some other considerations that you need to be aware of, you need to be prepared for your lawn. Then we're going to go into some garden and maybe some flower bed stuff as well if we have time. So the other thing that you want to do before the spring comes is you want to make sure that if you have a lawnmower, if you're the type that cuts your own grass, that you're getting your lawnmower ready for the springtime. Make sure your spark plug is cleaned or changed. Make sure your lawnmower can start up. Make sure if you drain the gas out before the winter time, like you should have, that you get gas in there, you got to make sure it starts back up. And you got to make sure that everything's set and ready to rock and roll. But you also want to make sure that you're using a sharp mower blade. So take this opportunity, if you haven't, to go check your mower blade and to see if it's sharp. And if it's not, you want to figure out how you can get it sharpened. You can either take it somewhere and sharpen it, or if you're really adventurous, you can try and sharpen it yourself. Make sure you do it safely if you do that. It seems that there are some people who still like to cut their lawn. There's, I'd say, probably as many, if not more, people that don't have time for it or don't have any interest in it. So, for those who don't have a lawnmower, you probably don't need to worry about that, but you definitely should make sure that your lawn care service that's coming out to cut your grass is using a sharp mower blade. Main reason why you want to use a sharp mower blade is it's kind of like the difference between cutting a piece of paper with a pair of scissors or with a paper cutter versus trying to tear that piece of paper and trying to make a clean cut. And if anyone's ever tried to tear a piece of paper, it never, ever, ever really comes out as clean of a cut as if you were to use scissors or a paper cutter. So why is that important for your lawn? If you have that jagged, rough cut on your lawn that comes only from using a dull mower blade, or, maybe like a weed whacker or something that makes a real rough cut. What that does is that invites that invites a lot of diseases into that, or it doesn't always, but it can invite a lot of diseases into your turf grass. Imagine that's like an open wound. If you have an open wound on your body, it's likely to get infected. If you have open wounds on your grass, it's likely to get infected. And what we know it definitely will do is it's going to stress the grass out, because then it has to repair that damage. And that open wound is going to mean that grass is going to lose extra moisture when the sun's beating down on it. So cut your grass with a sharp mower blade. And while we're on the subject of cutting, make sure your lawnmower is always set pretty much as high as you can set it. After you cut your lawn, get a ruler or a mower gauge out and go around and check your lawn in multiple different spots. At no place whatsoever should your lawn ever be shorter than 3 inches after it is cut. So what that will mean is, when you're done cutting, if you get your ruler out and if you notice that you're cutting your grass down to like 1.5, 2 inches, and you live in a northern climate like in Pennsylvania, like in Bucks County, and you have Kentucky bluegrass or tall fescue or one of the different types of fine fescues, or maybe you have perennial ryegrass in your lawn. If you're cutting your lawn too short, you're gonna have some problems once it comes summertime. That's one of the number one recommendations that we try to communicate to customers, and it's one of the number one most overlooked things that people will do, or one of the most misunderstood aspects of lawn care. Is proper mowing. How often to mow, what height to mow at. Like I mentioned, sharp mower blade earlier. Those are all common things that not everyone's aware of, or some just don't, they don't see the purpose behind it. But you need to cut your grass on the higher end. You need to keep it above 3 inches. And then when we get into the warmer time of the season, when we get into the summer, you might even want to raise that up to 3.5, maybe 4 inches if you can, if you're able to. The main reason why is the grass roots will grow down into the soil about the same, proportionately to how high the grass is allowed to grow up out of the soil. So if you have short grass, you're going to have a shallow root system. It's one of those as above, so below things. If you have tall grass, if you have, grass that's 3 inches or above, you're going to have a deeper and a healthier root system. And that deeper and healthier root system will have better access to water and to nutrients. And that's going to equal a stronger grass plant and a healthier lawn and less weeds. Everything that we would recommend, or that any lawn care service worth their salt should recommend, are all beneficial services that are proactive, that all feed into, creating a healthier, thicker, denser turf. So that way you're being more proactive with things and less reactive, more preventative and less curative, more, ahead of the curve, less behind the 8 ball is, the approach you want to take with your lawn for the year. So you got your mower ready, you got your blade sharpened, you got your spring fertilizer down. Another thing you want to do, if you haven't done this already, is to go over your lawn, do a spring cleanup. If you see a bunch of leaves, bunch of sticks or debris on your lawn, make sure it's cleaned up as soon as possible. If you need to hire a landscaper to help you with that, call one. We're not a landscaper. We don't do those services, I'm sorry to say. If you need a referral, I could certainly help you with a referral, and I could send you a referral on that. But that's not one of the services that we provide. We just take care of lawn care and making the lawn look healthy and green, and mosquito control and insect control. We don't do anything with cutting grass or spring cleanups. We don't do mulch. We don't do snow removal. We're specialists in a very specialized field, in a very specific field, and a very specific focus, which is, lawn health and giving you the best lawn on the block. So when you're cleaning up everything, clean up the leaves, clean up the debris, clean up the dog droppings. If you have a dog and if you've allowed them to go out and go on the lawn over the winter, make sure you get that stuff cleaned up already if you haven't already. So those are the most common lawn ones that we always want to go over with our new customers, and we try to educate even prospective customers on as well. Some of the other things that we always recommend that people do is, for example, in their flower beds. Sometimes people will have flower beds around their home. They'll have mulch beds where they'll have decorative ornamental plants, sometimes perennials, sometimes annuals, Sometimes you'll see, flowers, trees, bushes, shrubs. It's different with each property. Everyone has their own unique property, but in those beds are going to be hot spots for weeds to come up. So before the season gets too warm, and before the weather and the soil gets too warm, and before you see too many weeds in those beds, you want to make sure that you put down some sort of pre-emergent herbicide in your beds. One of the most common pre-emergent herbicides that you can put down in your beds is a product called Preen. You can get it at almost any home and garden center. Wherever you go, they should have it. It's in a little yellow jug, and you want to make sure you follow the instructions on there, follow the labeled directions as you always should, and apply it properly, with your spring prep for those beds. And then after you do that, you want to make sure that you put down an ample amount of mulch. And when I say ample amount, there's a specific amount of mulch that you want to put down, which is about 3 inches of mulch. So that 3 inches of mulch that you put down will help to suppress weed growth, and it's going to help to cool the soil, which will also keep the soil temperatures down, which will also help to limit creation of the conditions favorable to certain weed growth. That's what, even going back to cutting the grass at the right height. If you limit the conditions favorable to weed growth and to crabgrass growth, then all you're going to do is just encourage the right conditions. And it's all goes back to cultural practices. Just like a business has a culture, and that culture is how they operate and how they handle challenges and how they work through this issue or that issue. You're going to have cultural practices on your lawn that you should definitely follow. Another thing that we always try to make people aware of is to get any early season plantings done if you need to, depending on what you're putting down in your lawn, or not in your lawn, I'm sorry, in your garden, in your beds. There might be a specific time or a specific soil temperature that is required for you to plant, let's say, bulbs or to install perennials or annuals or whatever you're putting in there. So definitely, like I said, consult with an expert on that. There's a lot of important things that you're going to need to be aware of. And if you're doing any sort of exterior improvement project, whether it's something on your home itself or on the landscape around it, you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way, that you're crossing your T's, you're dotting your I's, and you're doing it the smart way. So make sure if when in doubt, seek out an expert and they could help you. There's the obviously you could call a professional service that can guide you on that. You can also call, I believe, I know it was around last year, but there was a hotline for the Bucks County Master Gardeners, which was put on by the Penn State Extension, and that was a whole thing. And you could always call them with any advice. And there's always in every single region, there's a Penn State Agricultural Extension office that you could call with any questions. And they're always really nice people, and they're always happy to help you and give you guidance or point you towards their online directory of knowledge on plant health and lawn care and ornamental health as well. So they're a great resource as well. Those are the main spring lawn and garden tips that we always recommend for homeowners and for property managers to be aware of. So like we said earlier, slow release granular fertilizer, weed control, both a pre-emergent for your crabgrass and a post-emergent for your other weeds. Make sure you do a spring cleanup, clean all the debris, clean all the leaves, clean all the sticks off your lawn. For your beds, make sure that you get mulch down, new mulch down on those beds. And also, if you can, put down some sort of preventative product on there. Like we mentioned earlier, Preen is a great, over-the-counter, available, used to, any one product that you can purchase. There's other professional grade products that are going to work a little bit better. They're going to be a little bit stronger. They're going to contain a wider spectrum of control of weeds than some of the do-it-yourself products, but that's just going to be par for the course. That's kind of like how there's over-the-counter medication, and there's also prescription medication. Usually the OTC is either weaker, not the same dose, or maybe doesn't have the same active ingredients as a prescription medication would. So it's the same general concept as far as your lawn and garden products as well. When it comes to weed controls, when it comes to insect controls, all those herbicides and insecticides, There are restricted use herbicides that only licensed and trained professionals can use and acquire. Then there's general use herbicides and insecticides that anyone can get at a garden center or at a Home Depot or at an Ace or at the Newtown Hardware here in town. As far as those applications or as those products go, I mean, it's always best, if at all possible, to have a professional do those services for you, mainly because they're going to be a lot more effective than the do-it-yourself products that you're able to get at the store. Like I just mentioned, they're usually stronger. They usually have better active ingredients. Usually they're newer active ingredients instead of like older active ingredients that are kind of like old gen products versus new gen products. Another thing you also want to keep in mind is, there are certain weeds that you just can't control with do-it-yourself products. So it's always easier to seek out an expert with those things. Plus, then if you go out and you spend all that time and money and effort to do it yourself, and if you don't get the desired end outcome result that you want, now it's all on you to go out and fix it. If you hire a professional, most professionals like us, we have a results guarantee on our service. We come back out to retreat weeds if we need to. Most do-it-yourself products, if not, I'd say all do-it-yourself products, do not have that results guarantee. So take the time to enjoy other things with your life instead of doing all those chores on the lawn. Seek out a professional's help, so that way you can then shift your focus onto enjoying your property or hobbies or interests. Or I know we haven't had the chance to do much traveling over this past year, or really anything with all that's going on. So maybe you'll have time to to do something like building a flower garden in your backyard, or a vegetable garden in your backyard, or if you have a pool in your backyard or a patio, maybe have some friends over or neighbors over for a small gathering and have them all gather and play in the lawn, instead of spending the time to go to a store and research the products and apply the products and all that. It's just so much easier. Plus, if you have someone doing it for you, then you don't have to store any excess products. You don't have to worry about what happens if your kids get into them, what happens if your pets get into them, and maintaining the equipment. It's just so much easier to not have to worry about that. It takes all the guesswork out of it. But yeah, those are the basic spring lawn and garden tips that I always like to go over with customers. Some of the specific things you do not want to do before we end the video here. Some of the things you do not want to do are, you want to try to avoid spring seeding if you can. Spring seeding is something that I always try to discourage whenever possible. Unless it's absolutely positively necessary, I always try to advise customers to wait until the fall for their seeding projects. Main reason why, remember a few minutes ago when I was talking about the pre-emergent crabgrass herbicides and how they stop crabgrass from germinating? They're going to stop regular grass from germinating too. If you put down grass seed in the springtime, and then if you put down a crabgrass pre-emergent too soon after you put the seed down, it could stop 100% of your seed from coming up. And all that money you spent on seed and all that time you spent on prepping it and all that effort you put into it could just be right down the tubes, because the pre-emergent stopped the grass seed from growing. So there's a lot of common sense things that some newer property owners might not be aware of, or that some Google searches just can't explain to you. So that's why you always want to seek out and consult with an expert when in doubt, and fact check stuff. Like I said, if you have questions, put it in the comment section below. And I think that's my time for now. I really enjoyed speaking to you today. Really look forward to my next appearance on All Around Newtown, whenever that may be. Next month, we are going to be looking at the NBA's Business of the Year, the Temperance House. So tune back in April. I believe that's going to be April 15th, when we take a look at the Temperance House and all the history behind that special building, and why are they such a special business, and why were they listed as the NBA's Business of the Year in 2020. So it's going to be an interview and a video that you do not want to miss. So set your calendars for next month, April 15th at 11 a.m. on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. I've been Matt Peters. I've been very fortunate to be speaking with you today, and want you to have a great day. Enjoy the spring season, enjoy your lawns, enjoy your properties, and have a great day. Take care.